because it's in front of the old El Borracho. Murder once a week in there when I was a kid. And saying in Art Deco DK, I'm going to talk about some of my work on 25th Street, some of the history of 25th Street. So they're building a school here. This group, they're from West Valley, but here in Ogden, where they, I mean, we say Polk by 60 votes, that beautiful, diverse city that we live in, that they try to capture. So I'm going to talk about some of the work of my work. See if we can get them going here. So I've got hundreds of jobs on 25th Street alone, hundreds. I worked for George Pappas when I was young, and I'll talk about it. Not that one on the Kokomo. That ain't my work. There's 3 or 4 illegal ones done here.
It's time to shine! It's time to shine!
Nice.
It's found almost everywhere and represents Mexico to all the world. So you can really make beautiful stuff.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
On so we don't get a copy strike, right? I mean, Google thinks they own everything. Warner Brothers, Sony freaking thinks they own everything. They'll copyright you for anything. So I want to talk about some of my work. So this is an important video. It's documenting history that people don't know. By the way, if you come down, none of them made in Ogden. Look at the tags on. Oh, we printed it in Ogden. It's pathetic. You know, here in Ogden, Utah, the panty painters are out in Ogden. So the artists around here, they will physically make you throw up. They will really make you vomit. That's them. They don't even show up. They're pathetic. We have no paper. This is historic paper. This is historic Windsor. I have walls in there of my work, plastered in there. And so, this is new. This is built in 2002. And I want to talk about this. This is important. We'll start down here at the end and we'll work our way back up. So it's important down here that I preserve some of this history in Ogden, Utah. Ogden, Utah. Al Capone stood right there on the corner, Standard Examiner, when they were paper in the day, with George Pappas Sr. A famous photograph. Well, Standard asked him, well, you spent so much time here, you ever thought about moving here? This side was all Annabelle's. This was the Jazz District, and I want to show you this. This is important. We'll do it right in front of Cornell's place. That's real. Oh yeah, right here on 25th. It's important. It's important. So, he's a local. So, this food's good too, by the way, but you know, my cancer, can't eat it. So, it's important that I talk about this. See those plaster walls here? Now, this is real important. They preserved that. It's on the National Register, all of 25th, 100%. So, they've been cheating illegally. Now, I got cancer is one of the reasons they've been cheating, because there isn't nobody knows how to do this, and I haven't been able to. So all of them look like this, the plaster walls. They all look like that, inside and outside. They all look like that. They couldn't touch them. So, stay with me. George Pappas owns all this. And so, the lighthouse has moved back down here now. Let's move off here so we don't get it. And like I said, Google thinks they own everything. There's the Weaver State Library crew. So that'll be 150 years old this year. We're expecting 500,000 people here. You know, so the railroad to Great Junction City. So every single one of these buildings up to right here, my plaster work's in it. Now this is important. So right here on this wall, see it up there? You can see the top of it. One of the best frescoes in the country. It's incredible. So this was all vacant from there all the way down. So they tore down the other wall. There's a wall there and it exposed that beautiful fresco. Now I did all the work for Doreen, the painted lady, in that building. The back walls, I restored all the brick. I did that in 2001 for her. So I'm like, you've got to leave that fresco. It's one of the grandest ones I've ever seen. It's a giant Victorian woman with a cigar 5 cents. So I'm like, just back it off, make a walkway. That's enough. They refused to do it. Illegally. So this is built illegal in the corner. Now let's talk about this. All this is up the top, all that preservation, all that, that's on my hand. All of it. All of it. I work for George Pappas Jr. I'm 18, 19 years old. I used to hitchhike back and forth from San Diego. That's a new building. So the Earl sat here. The biggest brothel in the United States was right here. They tore it down when I was a boy. I believe 68. So this wall you can see right barely at the top. See barely at the top of this building. That's my chicken scratch. So that wall I plastered it in 1979 for George. So inside all these buildings, they restored them all. So I did that whole wall, and this is real important. I'm doing the wall, and I used to mix with a hoe, which I always did. I got 10,000. I never, everybody said, where's your mixer? And I'd point right at my Stacy and Jerry. Oh, they're right there. We required to mix by hand. I never switched to the fake shit. So I broke my hoe. I used a short-handled hoe to mix with. So I walked around the corner, and there's a broken hoe all bloodied up. Somebody had been killed with it. So George says, oh, the cops already been here. They took the body out. And I said, so I used it for years and years and years. I used that hoe. I talked to the cops. I said, yeah, we don't care. There was a murder here in the late 70s and the 80s in our right where they're singing was called the El Borracho. Right across the street was called Pancho's. Oh, great food. All the boys were in prison. The girl ran it. You didn't go there after dark. And this side, it was in Art Deco decay. There were ruins. We used to hang in here. These bars were in ruins. These buildings were in ruins. The brewery had a bar in it with 2 block long. Beckers Brew had a bar in it. It was fucking incredible. What a, it was a gem. Take your breath away in this Art Deco decay. So they tore out, they had to redo all the walls for fire code in here. So they hired me, and I had to chip, you saw, chip all the plaster off of them. And they tore the conduit. There were conduit into the walls that had been cut into the brick, sometimes, who knows, 30s, 40s, 50s. So every single one of the buildings, you'll see the plaster work where the conduit's put back in. That's all my work. That's Kevin Blanch, my hand, not a crew, me. So they tore out bricks. It had everything on it. So I pointed all the brick. Every one of these, you walk in and there's exposed brick walls. That's all my work, including the back walls and all these. I restored them. You can't even tell where I've been. I'm not good at it. I pointed the brick back in, mixed my mortar too, so you can't even tell, which is nearly impossible. All that work up the top's mine. So the restoration on that got done way back, all across the back of the unit, that's all mine. I want to show you this. So I want to talk about the fraud here. It really pisses me off. Against the law. The comedy club up there, there's 3 buildings that have fake stucco. Even the number 1 is the Kokomo. The Kokomo, he put paint over wood. It's molded up against the law, against the law, against the law. How did Ogden City let him get away with it? You know, he's the crack seller to the booze. I mean, 25 cents. I mean, he's created more death and alcoholism than any person in the history of Ogden. That's saying a lot. So, this wall, I work with the... That's all my work. That's all my work. That's a grand piece, by the way. I mean, we made it look like that in person. See my chicken scratches? See them all over? Everybody says, oh, they look like a marijuana leaf. You must be able to see the one over the door. You must be a marijuana leaf. No, 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 no. I don't smoke weed. I quit smoking weed around 16. I drank a lot of beer, I'll tell you that. And I used to shoot tequila somewhat. All my work. All my work. We did it like that on purpose to look like that. All my work. See the chicken scratches? So, George's still alive. I like George. He's a great guy. He's the one that told me, he said, Kevin, when I worked on there, I said, if it wasn't for corruption, there would be no economy in Ogden, Utah. That is the economy. So, I'm like, you would know. Oh my God. Al Capone to the Ogden Center Examiner. Why don't you just move here? You think Ogden a little too rough for my blood. You know, so all these buildings, my hand, I mean, when I say I got 10,000 jobs here with my hand, I'm not kidding. And that's why balancing my teaching career, why balancing my Wall Street career. I did all 3. And if you haven't noticed by these YouTube sites how hard I go. I mean, look, I was a sick kid. I know live life to the fullest every day. I've known that since I was a child. I was born a preemie, I was nuked. I mean, I was very sick as a child. I was a hell of an athlete. And so, this guy I did for was a real crook. But anyway, a lot of them around. So, I would never switch to the fake stuff, whatever. So, the comedy club out in the end has fake E.i.f.s. That's not stucco. Against the law. I've gone to the commissions. I'm like, just like when I did the Masonic Temple. How'd you pull that off? Oh, we're going to make them fix it, tear it off. Sure you are. So every one of these buildings has my hand in it, inside the walls. Every one of them. Now, this has had a renaissance just in the last few years. I mean, this was an Art Deco decay from the mid-70s on. It's all from, it was like a light switch went on in 1979 when they tore down and built the Ogden Mall. I mean, you should have seen it before they built. Oh, this street was so fucking grand. Hardcore, authentic. Like I said, that side, that's why it's important that I do this. Lots of work inside that building. Tons in that side. All of them. Every building on here. Every one of them. Because they still own them. It's the same freaking... the old crime family, their heirs still own these buildings. Every single one of them. That's a fact, Jack. And so, go ask George, you don't believe me. So, I love this building. That's his. That's against the law what he did. That's fake stucco. It's illegal, illegal, illegal. See that? That's E.i.f.s. Against the law. Again, these are federal charters. Illegal. That's illegal, the top. Against the law. So, what a building, huh? But how they pull it off is beyond me because it's federal. It's on the Federal National Register. Of course, they tore down the Orpheum on the federal list. Big D just tore it down. Stay with me. I know this is a long video, but somebody's got to do this. You know, get it done. Everybody's on me. Write your books and get this done. This is a book published. So, lots inside that building. All these walls. So again, what they look like was that. All of them, inside and outside. And you know, that's the plaster. You know, I chipped it off with a hammer, all of it on the inside. You know, I was 18, 19, clear tell. You know, I got cancer, which is not long ago. So this is what's important about this. He's great. I love him. Good food too. Go Jazz. The second biggest jazz capital was right here. I love how it's all this artwork up here will make you throw up. The penny painters. Oh, they were no penny painters then. You know, all the greats, because they'd come on the train. They would meet here. I knew Annabelle personally. She just died recently. The Electric Alley, they called it. This side was all African American. It was segregated. Ask Frank Robinson. He played baseball here. He won't come back. So he used to hang in one of the cafes right here. And some guys called him the N-word. And the owner wouldn't stick up for him. Remember, this is the days when Frank Robinson got charged illegally having a gun. I wouldn't mess with that dude. Whoa. And they did. They wanted to come back, retire his number, you know, Buckner between the legs. Here. You know, so lots of work in this building. Lots of work. Kier illegally, Kier Construction illegally did all kinds of fraud on that building. They didn't meet the so-called national code. So they're all up and down the whole street. We better turn this off. So I think it's beautiful that they're performing right there in front of the old El Borracho. Yeah. Hey, what's happening, brother? It's working. Yeah. Keep up the fight. So the El Borracho was in ruins. Murder, I mean, the poncho's right there. There was bullet holes in the wall. There was a beautiful Mexican fresco in it. It was so grand. I'm like, where the hell's it at? Lucky slice asshole. You covered up that fresco? Should have seen it. It was one of the most beautiful way done back in the day. Had bullet holes all over in it. This was half fallen down. And the bar was still there. There was a murder in it. It was called the El Borracho. You didn't go in that fucker after dark. I'll tell you that. Of course, the old Star Noodle. That's illegally done. This is important. Now stay with me because I want to show you some of the biggest fraud. And the hell and I tried to buy that building. That's grand. That fucking building is grand. So this, I've done lots of work in all these buildings, you know, in the day. Inside of my hands, everywhere on them. All cement-based stuff, all hand mix. You know, like I said, literally 10,000 of them. Literally. So this is the one that really, this, you don't believe they're how on the historic list? National Register. You see the sign? You see the sign? They all are. This is the one that really burns me. I want to show you this molded up. This Western Stucco who's still in business now. Western Stucco did this. It's paint over wood. Look at that. I want to show you this. This is on the National Historic. It's paint over freaking wood and they call it stucco. Illegal, illegal. It's incredible. I'm doing some, I like this kid. So, every one of these built. Okay, this one, really illegal. I believe Big D or R&O did it. Illegal. Illegal, that's E.i.f.s. That's fake stuff. Illegal, it's against the law. Federal, whatever. They don't care. He's great. I love this guy. He's got a big sign he holds up, says fuck too, just like mine. This is just starting to look more like Zappa every day. Good young artist. There's some young ones out here, the panty painters. So my friend has the booth right there. It runs the Weber State radio show. I want to say this while I'm doing this video. It's important. Lots of them in here. So he said they came in and told him he couldn't report any news anymore. What? Seriously. So, like I said, you see the art around here, it will make you throw up. So right here, it's Brewski's. On this side, it used to be called Rodux. Before that, it was called the Stadium, whatever. I used to do my payroll right there in that bar. So Butch, my lead man, he just passed away. Found he done his thing. We did our. People used to fight over who was going to do our payroll, because I do my payroll in the bar every Friday. You know, I had the same 7, 8 guys that worked for him for years. Jerry took a stroke. Butch was dead. Sadly, Butch was a big, incredible dude. So that one's illegal. The front of that. But this is the really. And you don't believe me? They're all on the register. Every one of them is on the register. National. They have to meet the charter. So who's the corruption? The people that are paid to police it. We're right there in that freaking municipal building. By the way, they tore the top off that illegally. There's a panty painter. Don't get me going on her. I want to get her. She's a, oh God, it's horrible. Make you barf if you see the look. So, this is the most illegal one of them all. Right there. Right there. That's all fake people. It's illegal, illegal. The old bus depot has changed hands about 10 times now. So, somebody's graffitied that one. Which, by the way, I like graffiti. So, see how that class is up on there? They would left that one. I mean, but they painted over. There used to be a really great fresco. How they did that? They painted over that fresco. You can see it. See it? See the fresco? See it? I hope I'm zooming. God, they were all over this town. Up and down. Illegally painted over them, plastered them over, covered them up. Why? Because that's what they do. Just like my friend runs the radio station in Weber State. He's right there. I'll get an interview with you. Me and him work together. Weber State professor right here. Oh God, I'll vomit. What a school of fucking art. I will puke. Tell yourself to. Let's see. Now think about a guy who wears black in 100-degree weather. There's your first sign right there. Huh? So, the top of the municipal building, they tore off. So, illegally, I want it back. Leslie Houghton, I restored the Masonic Temple. You know, it's called the Bigelow now. Archie Bigelow was a crook, so I'm glad, you know, Mary Eccles, the Ben Lomond. Federal, this is all new. They tore down stuff to build it. All on the register. Lots of work in that one. You go inside there on the walls. I'll just shoot some videos on the interior too. But I want to see if I can get a shot up there. Well, you saw it when I was walking off the top of the grand municipal building. We'll get a break right here. And so, I'm going to do some work down there tomorrow, right there where they got the road tore up, where they built the Ogden Mall in '79. That was the end. That was the end of Artisan Ogden. In the name of Bernard DeVoto, he grew up right here. Fama K. Brody grew up here. I talked to the Weber State head of the English department. Now, this is impossible. She didn't know who Fama K. Brody was. Youngest female freaking professor in Utah State, maybe in the country. Youngest dean, there it is. So the top of it used to have another tier. Someone in LA had another tier, another box, and it had this chrome pinnacle on top of it. It was grand. They tore it off. Ha! Boy. Lots of, oh, it's one of my favorites I did. Up here. I got them all over. Fucking hundreds of them. All cement. Never switched to the fake shit. Never. Well, just like right now that's going on with Fukushima. Ha! Fukushima now is the greatest mental illness in human history. It's like climate change in our. You're a freaking bunch of, you're sickos. The death of the Ogden artisan. Bernard DeVoto, I'll tell this story as I close this. Bernard DeVoto. The bakery, I got some really, they tore down the old bakery. I got some great footage of the old sign. Nobody takes these opportunities. We have no media, we have no paper, we have nothing. These artisans are all panty fucking painters. They're fucking panty painters. In Ogden, a little too rough for Al Capone. Panty painters, not me, motherfuckers. And so, you can deny my work all the time because I'm no fucking panty painter. Michelangelo, fucking. So DeVoto, he's driving back to Weber, John Weber County. He's driving back to John Weber County. He's with Olson, the poet, coming from Boston, coming from Harvard, born and raised here. They get to Weber County, Iowa, and he slams on the brakes. He says, "What the fuck are you doing?" I drove out of that godforsaken county. I won't drive back into it. Now DeVoto, to the great poet Olson. Lots of great poets here from the World War I. The Brownies sewing to both sides. All roads lead to Ogden, Utah. That's what they all look like that right there. So that's what they all look like. See that plaster plugs there? Those aren't mine. Maybe they are. No, I don't think those plugs are mine, but that's what all the walls interior and exterior look like. I know. Now they're not. And so when we chipped them off, tore them off, they had lots of plugs. So I filled all the plugs, and then I spotted all the brick back in. You can't even tell. Yeah. Sure. I like this guy. He's Kevin Blanch.
Hey, how you doing? Yeah, on these buildings.
I'm shooting a video on the history of these buildings.
Oh, yeah.
I've got my hands on every one of these buildings on the interior walls.
Those have these plaques on them that tell the history of the building.
Yeah, I know that.
Oh, do you? Yeah, I was just making
So,
sure.
by the way, I'm documenting the 5 buildings that were illegally have fake stucco on them against federal law.
Oh.
And they put them on. I want them fixed.
Oh.
You know me.
Yeah, I do. I've seen you around here.
Okay.
Yeah, this place is tremendous, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it's grand. Like that one. That's all illegal in hell. That's fake stucco. It's against law. I restored the Masonic Temple. I hung from a rope and handshake with that back together. But I've done the restoration on every one of these buildings.
Oh.
Inside the walls for George. Pappas still owns them all.
Oh.
And Mario.
I didn't know that.
George and Marino still own them all. Marino's got to be what, about 108?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, he was probably around when they...
When Al Capone stood there and said it was, yeah. Right on, thanks. He's a good guy. His art, I mean, I'm not saying nothing. Don't even get me going. So, oh, there she is. Oh, make you vomit, make you throw up the panties. She's not from here. Like I said, neither is he. None of them are. I know them all. She's from San Diego, San Clemente. She's, oh, I don't think it's Fukushima guy. I says, how would you know? Sitting on your fucking bench here. The panty painters in Ogden. In Ogden. So I used to do my payroll right there. It's called Rodux. In the name of Butch Leroy Chavez, who just passed. The brothels were still here when I was a kid. The fucking hookers were, you should have seen them. They weren't like they are now. Oh, they were pillars of the community. You wouldn't believe them. Oh, you should have seen these films. They ran the town when I was a kid. For clear into the 70s, they ran this city. Literally, you think I'm kidding? I'm not. The panty painters need to go. Kevin Blanch. I ain't no panty painter. The last of the Ogden, Utah artists.